Thanks for joining me, Phil,
Yeah,
again.
man.
It's good to see you,
Good to
man.
see
It's
you.
been a couple weeks, I think, since we last saw each other.
Yeah, another week.
Yeah, we're making these videos together, kind of a collab video, if you will.
I enjoy them.
Yeah.
I'm having fun.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun too. This week's episode, we're going to talk about our goals for the upcoming year.
Yeah.
It's still kind of late winter, early spring right now, and we're thinking about, how are we going to do things differently? Are we going to raise prices? I put up these here. These are my old mowing lists. We got the 2020 out. We were talking about, how much money we made. I got my 2021 list from last year, and we're just talking about, what we learned over the years and setting our goals up for this year.
Yeah, I think it's very beneficial to understand and to share with you guys how we step into not even just the new year, but in the new mowing month. Like, we're like, what, a month and a half away from mowing, and so we need to prepare ourselves for the mowing season.
Yeah.
So we're going to share like our tips and tricks on how to start, how to put your foot down and start before mowing season starts. So what you got to do and what you need to be prepared for.
Yeah, and these videos are specifically tailored to those of you who may have just been in your first year or first couple years of getting started, or maybe just thinking about doing it this year. I've been doing it for over 10 years, and Phil's been doing it here for 2-3 years.
Yep.
And so we kind of have different perspectives, but our bottom line perspective is that we want you guys to learn something. We don't want you to make the same stupid mistakes that we have in the past. So by us talking together, sharing some ideas about what to expect, and we're setting our goals, setting our budgets, and trying to look at a positive, good year.
Yeah. So 2022, I think we should start off with, like, a lot of people ask all the time is, what should be my minimum price for mowing, and also, how much should I charge? What should be my hourly rate? I think we should talk about that as well, just to cover it, just to cover the baseline there.
Especially when you're first getting started, you don't know what the baseline is.
Yeah.
I mean, I know when I first got started, I had a kind of a sliding scale. I do not recommend this, but I would charge, say $35, and I would do a really good job.
Yeah.
And then I charge maybe like $30, and then maybe not weedy,
not edge or something.
Not edge,
yeah.
and then maybe I charge $25, and I would just give it a quick and dirty with the lawnmower. And do not do that.
No.
Do not do that. And also, you want to be known as professional, and you want to be known as not the cheapest guy out there.
Yeah.
Because I had built a reputation for myself the first year getting started when I was only charging like $25 and I was just mowing. I was like the cheapest guy in town. And even today, sometimes I get phone calls thinking that I still charge $25, and I don't. And I kind of shot myself in the foot. So if you learn anything, you'll set the bar high, because you're going to want to be there.
Yeah, like I always say, it doesn't matter, even if you're just starting out, call around, call some shop, call us, see how much we're charging.
Yeah.
We'll tell you our minimums. I mean, the minimum is the minimum to us.
Yeah.
We're not going anything under that price point. So you call local shops around, or I say shops like I'm small engine, because I made one before talking about prices. But if you're doing small engine repair, call shops around and see what they charge. But for lawn care guys, call the companies and see what their minimums are and how much they'll charge to mow your grass. All you're getting is an estimate.
And remember, your competition is not the kid down the street charging $10 to mow the lawn every once in a while when he's not chasing his girlfriend around town. We're talking like professional. We both have our professional kind. We got our hats, we got our sweatshirts. We got our trucks, we got our signs. We're paying our taxes, we're paying our L&I, we're doing things above board. That's your competition, And I wouldn't even consider it competition, because Phil and I are in the same market, and we never step on each other's toes.
Yeah. If that, we're sharing our client list, because I have clients that want tree work done. I don't do tree work, he does. So I give him my clients, and if there's a client, let's say in Cheney, that's far out of his service area, he'll let me know. He'll say, hey, I got this up at Prospect that needs service, so he'll share information with them. So.
Yeah, surrounding yourself with good people, and you kind of your networking that's a whole nother video about networking. But being able to give, Phil's a good guy, he's honest, he takes care of you, and I feel comfortable referring business to him.
Yeah, and so going back to like our minimums, even if we share, like my minimum is 45. I asked him, Chris, what's your minimum? He said 50. And so that gives me the idea of, well, maybe I should be charging 50. I'm in the same industry. I do the same type of professional work. So maybe I'll reconsider my minimum. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. I wanted to share with you guys, like, you don't have to charge 45, or you don't have to have a minimum of 45, because every area is different.
Yeah.
The main thing is calling around, seeing what other people charge that are doing the same type of quality work. I'm not talking about, Joe Schmo down the street with the truck, chucking the truck.
You're comparing apples to apples.
Yeah, you got to compare yourself to a quality professional business. It don't matter how big their businesses are. They can be True Green. It can be, by the way, I don't really like True Green. I mean, because
True Green just does fertilizing nowadays.
Oh, yeah,
they don't do the mowing.
Yeah. Well, like, let's just say grounds guys.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of teenagers that just want summer jobs, so they don't take their time. And I'm not saying all of them do, but majority of the people that are like in the big franchisees that are just picking up kids for employees, they're not doing the best job. Yeah. And so they will also be bad people to call, because you want to call companies that are like 2-3 employees. You don't want to call companies that have like 20, 30, 40 employees, because they are going to be charging very low rates.
Well, or they drop off in performance too.
Yep.
I like to think of it as we are kind of the boutique of lawn care. We can afford to charge a few extra bucks because we have that relationship with you.
Yep.
We're the same guys are showing up at your house. You maybe have 1 or 2 employees, but those same guys are showing up week after week after week after week. You trust them, you like them. And you're not going to worry about them coming back on a Sunday afternoon and like stealing your stuff out of your backyard.
Yeah, I don't know about you. I have like a good personal connection with most of my customers. Some of the customers I've never seen. They're just like, I need you to be on my lawn every week. Yeah. I'll pay you. I'll put a credit card on file. You will never see me. And I don't. I never see them. I don't know what they look like.
Yeah.
But majority of the clients, they come out and say hi, and all that.
It's very personal.
Yeah, very personal. So, you can build that trust, you can build that relationship, and also bring value to the table and say, hey, I'm willing, I'll never be late, I will show up at this time if there's no rain delay. We got, credit card online system, online payments, we're fully set, we're bringing all these benefits to you, but we do charge a premium.
Yeah, and you get what you pay for, right? That premium. And it's important, again, you're comparing apples to apples. You're not charging what that kid charged down the street. You may not be charging what Sinskis or some of the big outfits, the $1 million industry guys are charging. You find that sweet spot, and we can't tell you, what to charge. You're going to have to find that out for yourself. But finding that early on is important, and not making the same stupid mistake I did. Only charging $25. It's just you can't make any money doing that. And when you're doing it professionally, you have a lot of overhead. I got to pay my taxes. I got to. There's and we'll talk about that.
A lot. Yeah. So, like a month out before mowing, Chris, we're just waiting. We're just waiting. It's a waiting game, and we're preparing ourselves. How do you use this month? So what do you do? Like, we got a month left. What do you do? Do you send out estimates right now? You contacting people? How can someone be ready before mowing season starts? What do you got to do with your clientele list and all that?
Well, what I do is I first go back and I look at my old list. I kind of study what worked for me last year, and I'm setting the groundwork for a successful year now. If I got a couple clients in my list here that were kind of a pain in the butt, I'm probably just going to cut them.
Everyone does.
Yeah. You just cut them. Maybe they didn't pay their bill on time, or maybe they're just kind of a pain in the butt in general, or maybe their yard stinks.
Yeah. It's easier to cut them now than while you're doing the service.
Yeah, and it's kind of tough to say, I'm just going to cut you, little old lady, blah blah blah. But when you're first getting started, you're not in a position to give away your services for free.
Right.
Someday as you get more established, yes, you can take on a few freebies. I've been doing this for over 10 years. And I got a few little old ladies that I'll just do for free. I know they're struggling. I just do it for free. Maybe there's a handicapped guy that lives around the corner, and you just mow his lawn for free. And now that I'm established, I can afford to do that. But you cannot afford to do that as much as you wish you could when you're first getting started. Just save that idea for when you get a few more years down the road, and you can't afford to do that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm looking at my old list from last year, and I'm thinking about cutting people. And another kind of taboo subject, I'm going to think about raising prices too. It's everything's going up. The world we live in today is just crazy. Everything's cost more money. But when you raise prices, it's hard. We were talking about this earlier. Why is it so hard to raise prices?
You just feel like I can't explain it either. It's like, I think everyone goes through this. We all go through before we do our first price raise. After you do it, man, you don't even care. You'll just raise prices. It don't matter. But when you do it in the first place, you almost feel like you're kind of scared in a way. You feel like, well, if I raise my prices for everybody, everyone's just going to leave and find someone cheaper. That's just the mentality.
You're kind of afraid.
Yeah, you're afraid. You're afraid that your business is just going to go downhill and you're going to have no clients. Well, that's not the case. When I raised my prices last year was my first time raising prices. And I'll be honest with you guys, I was scared. I mean, I was like worried that, everyone's just going to leave. No one's going to accept, or people are going to argue. And then I'm going to feel sorry.
How many customers did you lose?
Maybe like 3 or 4.
And were those
out of like 60? And those were the ones that I didn't want to do.
You didn't want to do. That's
exactly.
getting to our point exactly. Is making those cuts. Maybe
so
raising your prices.
It's like you have nothing to lose when you raise your prices. They will not leave you. They know your work. They know the value that you bring to the table. Even if you raise, you can do 5% or you can do $5. That's usually the two options people do. Is either you're raising 5%. So if you're charging 40, you're going to charge $42.50 this year for their cut. If you're going to do $5, you're going to charge $45.
Yeah.
Inflation's going up. Things aren't getting cheaper. No. Living's getting more expensive.
Yeah.
Gas prices is going more expensive, like we talked about. Verizon will increase your bill. Your phone company will increase your bill. Your rent will go up.
The gas station
goes up. They don't notify us that they're going to raise prices.
Yeah.
Groceries are getting more expensive. Why not lawn care?
Yeah. Why not?
And it's
we're not trying to lie, cheat, or steal or anything. We're just trying to keep up.
Yeah, we're flowing with the economy.
Yeah.
We're not the guys that are gonna, keep the dollar slices like New York City. I mean, they got their dollar slice. I don't know if they're doing that. I don't know if they're dollar anymore, man.
Yeah.
They're maybe doing $1.50 slices now, but I'm just saying, like, same thing. You're not gonna get a $30 cut anymore.
Yeah.
It's like.
And our target audience, really, you got to know your target demographic and your target audience too. In lawn care, we are focusing on the higher end, more affluent customers. I mean, I know it's kind of harsh to say, but our target audience is not your paycheck to paycheck kind of guy.
Yeah.
As much as we want to serve that community, we just can't. They most importantly can't really afford to pay us, and really probably shouldn't be paying a guy $50 to mow his lawn when he's struggling to make ends meet.
Right. I think there's also in every city, in every town, there's a certain area where you will not put a mower, where you will not drop your trailer to do work. For us, Hilliard has always been that gray area where I'm like, I don't want to do work there because people are always, there's a lot of crime right there and all that.
That West Central neighborhood is another one.
So there's parts where I won't even do business.
Yeah.
And if you have, if you're just starting out and you're just getting clientele, you can get those clients, for cheaper
for
or
$25.
Whatever. Yeah.
But
you get them, you do service for them for a year or two, and then start filtering out your clientele.
Yeah, and we're not talking like those people are bad. We're just thinking you got to know your target audience, and we're going to focus on those neighborhoods. You know where those neighborhoods are in your part of the country or your town. You know where those neighborhoods are. You know where the money is, and you just got to go there. And it's not to say that the other neighborhoods aren't good.
Yeah.
But especially when you first get started, you just can't afford it. So that's what I'm doing here now, and I'm looking forward at this upcoming year, 2022, is I'm trying to think about, am I going to get into that next neighborhood? Am I going to start driving across town? Am I going to carve out, maybe a day to start working in the Spokane Valley, for example?
Yeah.
I don't think so. Yeah. But these are things that you want to think about now and start planning and forecasting for,
Yep.
Again, getting back to raising rates, why does it feel so bad? I don't know. Maybe it's a tough. We don't know really why.
I think it's just the habit we all have.
Maybe just human nature. We want to just keep it low for our customers, but you just can't.
Yeah.
And so, imagine now we're going to raise our rates by $5. You're going to go from 45. Say,
now, is that for everybody? Everybody gets a raise.
Yeah, I'm going to just say, just generally speaking, let's say everybody gets a blanket raise, because again, we're not going to be doing any charity work at this point when we're first getting started. As much as you love that little old lady down the street, you just can't do it for free, or you can't do it for $20. You're going to have to. So let's just generally, broadly speaking, we're going to raise the rates from $45 to $50. The money, like Phil said before, he lost 2 or 3 clients. Maybe 2 or 3% of his clientele dropped off, which is not a big deal because they're kind of a pain in the butt. And the money that he gained over here by raising the rates, he made this much more money and only lost this much more money over here. So the cost of
it's either you're gonna make more money or you're gonna balance out.
Well,
it's
I would.
You're never gonna lose money. I don't think
you're ever gonna lose money, especially with a small increase of like $5. In fact, I'm gonna go as far as you're gonna make more money. And those few clients that you did lose, big deal. You're making more money anyway without them. Plus, you have a big hole in your gap in your schedule that you can fill with full price new clients. So and then it's a win-win. You're gonna win because you drop your crummy customers, and then immediately you're gonna make more money. But then again, you're gonna make more money because you're gonna fill that spot with the people that you're making more money with.
So I do it differently. The way I raise my rates is, and I don't know if you do this or not, but the way I raise my rates is I raise my rates beginning of the year. Now I know a lot of people do it at the end of the year. They say it's much easier. You can talk more about that. But I raise my rates at the beginning of the year before I even mow lawns.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I send out new estimates, and the new estimates already have the new price. I don't say like, here's your old price, here's your new price. I just say,
this is the price.
This is the price. Yeah. It was $40 last year. Here's your new estimate, $45. You're gonna get the same exact service. We're gonna do this to your lawn. We're gonna be here on this day, and that's it. You either accept or decline.
Now, what if somebody says, hey, Phil, I'll pay you last year's price, but I'm going to pay you in one check all up front in April. And I know you're hurting in April because you want that money, especially if I'm going to get you like a $1,200 check that day, but you're losing out on the other end because you're going to, what do you say to that?
Well, I'm not a pay up front business. So we do business. We don't charge the day we do the service. We charge at the end of the month. I've done to where I was charging for the full month at the beginning of the month. I've done that, and it just doesn't work for me. Just me personally, I don't like the feeling of having the money. Yeah, somebody. And you almost feel like, yes, they paid for the services, but they paid for the services for the whole month, and you are expected to be on their property every single week and doing that service. If you are sick, if you get injured, you're going to have to refund.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the funds to refund,
the money's gone. As soon as I've done that in the past before, where I thought, I'm going to offer maybe a 5% discount to folks that pay their entire bill at the very beginning of the season. I'm thinking, great, this is it's really good at the time because I'm thinking I need that money. I get 4 or 5 people write me a full season check. All of a sudden overnight I got like $5,000 or $6,000 in the bank, and I'm like, yes, thank God. I can afford to fund payroll, or I can afford to buy the new mower. But that money is gone. Yeah. It's just gone. So if something were to happen and those folks say they moved out of town suddenly, or my truck broke down, I was unable to service them, the money's gone. They're not getting a refund, but they certainly are expecting to have a refund.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's what's tough, because a lot of people are like, well, how do I do billing? And then this is a whole nother episode.
Well, no, it goes on because this is the time of year you're thinking about setting up maybe a new billing system.
Yeah, the way I used to do it is I always were, accepting cash and checks, and usually that's how people start out. They don't have a software. They don't have any online option payments because they're doing everything on paper and maybe doing Excel. The way I've transitioned is I use Lawn Pro, and we have a credit card processing system on Lawn Pro through Stripe. Yes, they charge a fee, but hey, guess what? You get instantly paid online. And so people on Lawn Pro have a option to store a credit card on file, which makes it so much convenient because you can get paid instantly.
Yep.
I mean, at the end of the month, now we can get into, should I charge every week, every other week, or should I charge every month or for the whole year? For me, it's different for everybody. Like me, I personally enjoy getting paid at the end of the month. You get a huge lump sum at the end of the month, and me personally, I take my that lump sum and I spread it throughout the whole month. And so, yes, people think cash flow is much easier to charge every single week. You get better cash flow that way. You get to pay your employees and all that. You don't have to worry about it. But you don't get that large sum. So the large sum is really nice, and that's just it's all personal preference. But I like to charge at the end of the month, and that's just
I agree. I charge now at the end of the month too. There was some time when I mentioned earlier that I took the payment up front, and then I was always afraid that maybe I would owe the person something or something might happen, and I wouldn't have the money to pay them back. But also, it made me feel like almost like an indentured servant, like I was like their slave. Like they could just call me up and be like, Chris, get over here and do this, blah blah blah. I already paid you.
I already paid you. Yeah.
And I didn't want that kind of relationship. And as I got a little bigger, I was throwing away that discount. I mean, why would I discount my services? It just doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, keeping it consistent across everybody, and again, broadly, we know we all got our favorites. We might charge a little less for, but for the most part, let's just keep it all at $50. I'm not going to split hairs either. I'm not going to, if you got a little bit smaller yard than this guy, it's the same price.
Right. You have to draw the line, If you charge 45 minimum, stick to it. Don't be like, well, okay, it's going to take me, like I told you, I had this property that $40, last year's price minimum was 40, and I said, you know what, it's 40, and she was like, all right. I thought I was ripping her off because it took me 7 minutes to mow the lawn.
I've had one of those before.
I'm like, I'm making $40 mowing this, spending 7 minutes of my time here, and I thought I was ripping the lady off, but she accepted. And I thought I had to do like, I'm like, whoa, man, it's going to take me, it's such a small yard. It's going to take me like, 10 minutes max. And I was this close to saying, you know what,
I'll
let's
give you
do
a discount.
35, let's do 30.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, you know what?
No,
that's it. You got to step up. You got to step up yourself and really feel confident in your pricing and say, you know what, that's it. You draw the line, 40, 45, and I'm not going anything under it, no matter how fast I can do it.
I think you make a good point. Being confident, being really confident in your services and what you bring into the table. Yeah, maybe it only took Phil 7 minutes to do the yard, but it took him at least 10 minutes to drive over there and then 10 minutes to make his next house.
And think about all of the overhead.
And all
you
the
got insurance.
Yeah.
You got gas to pay for.
And that lawnmower, I saw your lawnmower. That's not cheap, man.
No.
Yeah. so we got a lot of expenses. So I guess that's maybe where we hit on that. That's why we kind of feel bad about increasing prices.
Yeah.
But, we have to. And again, you're running a business. It's really important. Like cutting the fat off your business. It's kind of hard and it's harsh to think, but you got to do it. And making that decision now, when you're first getting started or in the first of the year, sending out those hard letters saying, hey, I'm going to raise prices, or hey, I'm going to cut you, or hey, making those decisions now is much easier than when you're standing there face to face with the little old lady and she's trying to talk you down on pricing, and you're just looking at her and you're feeling sorry for her and you're not confident, and you're just like, okay.
You'll let your guard down. And then you'll feel stepped on every time you come to her property and servicing her yard.
You know what it's easier to do, Phil, is when you pick up your list here and you go like this, you're like, yeah, I don't like her. Cut them off. Because it's so impersonal, it sucks to say. But see, here, I don't know if you can see this here. I have a yellow stripe across here. See this yellow stripe here? Yep. See where it says front yard only? Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, I should probably charge her less because I'm only doing the front.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm not. I'm just going to.
Full price.
Yeah, it's full. I don't.
Yeah.
You know what? It's hard to say that, but it's important to make those decisions now. And I think it'd be kind of fun to go back and watch this video a year from now, and kind of look at how dumb we were talking and we were trying to give you guys some free advice. But I think it's important. And I think if I was to watch myself, say in a year from now, I would still think the message would be consistent.
Oh yeah.
I want to be consistent in what we're talking about. And when you're getting started, getting over some of these difficult things.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about how would you cut off someone? Do you just not send them an estimate beginning of the year, or do you call them and say, "Hey, I know you were last year's customer. I know we sent out an email stating we'll be sending out estimates." Like me, I personally send out emails saying, "If you were last year's client, you will be receiving an estimate." Like, if I send that out, should I be calling those people again and saying, "Hey, I'm sorry, but you're out of our service area," or make up?
Yeah, certainly. I would certainly let them know that you dropped them. You don't have to be as harsh as we're talking about. Like, you don't make any money, and we don't like you, and your dog poops in the yard, you never clean it up. And you don't have to be like that. Just kind of be gentle and say, "Hey, I've made some decisions in the business. I'm no longer servicing your property." And you keep it kind of generic like that. Like, it's not their home. It's not personal. I'm no longer servicing your property.
Now, would you ever recommend raising their price specifically by like $20, $30 for them to drop? Because I've had an instance where I raised the price by like $20 and this person still wanted me to service their property.
Oh, that's a good example. Maybe no. I don't think I've ever done that.
It was so bad. I'm like, well, I'm making $20 extra, so
maybe it was
maybe it's worth it now.
Maybe it is worth stepping in dog poop like this.
Yeah. So, but still, you feel like man, you're not consistent. You didn't stick with the goals. So still, it doesn't feel the same when you just drop them. So I wouldn't recommend it. I learned my lesson to not.
And again, I would recommend keeping your pricing consistent over different neighborhoods, different parts of town. You know, I don't care if it's a little smaller or a little bit bigger. Yeah, you'll have a little bit of differences in a really big yard or a really small yard. But for the most part, you want to keep things consistent, because there's no way, especially as you grow, if you're going to remember every single person's price. I mean, look at this. I mean, I got a whole book here. I mean, I got like 20 this day, and I got like 15 this day, and I got like, look at this. I mean,
yeah, that's a lot.
You think I'm going to be able to remember everybody's single pricing? No. And when they call, and then or when I get a new person or a neighbor or something. So when you give these generic numbers, right, that's why we want to say it's about $50.
Yeah.
Or it's about $45.
I say like 40, 50, or 40. I say, you know what I say? When people call me and say, hey, how much for my yard? Well, I say, well, we're going to have to come out and look at your property, see how much edging you have front and back, you know, your obstacles, see what kind of push, do we have to push mow it? Do we have to get a rider? They always try to say like, well, it's not that big, you know, you do my neighbor's yard, it's about the same. It's never the same, okay? It's never the same. But I'm always like, well, we still got to come out. And then they're like, well, about how much? Yeah. That's where I'm like, okay, so my minimum, I'll tell him my minimum. Our minimum is $40. Like 50% of the time, people are like, oh, that's too much. Boom, hang up, you know? Yeah. And that's fine. You're filtering out the clients. You say, our minimum's 40, but our customers typically pay anywhere from $40 to $70. And that's true. I have some commercial accounts that are bigger, and they pay $70 per service. So you're like anywhere from $40 to $70. If they say okay, then you're like, all right, we'll set up an estimate. We're going to visit your property.
Right there. You know, Phil, I'm going to get down on you a little bit. I don't like you wasting your time to go and do estimates. Well, again, we're talking about our target demographic. They got money. I don't want to see you wasting your time to go do these estimates. True. Yeah. Because, okay, this is how a phone call goes with me. All right, it's a little. I'm gonna embellish it a little bit, but they call up like, how much do you charge? Well, I charge about $50. Okay, you live in that neighborhood? That's great. The price range in that neighborhood is between $50 and $60. That's good. Yeah. And you're like, okay, great. They say, well, that sounds pretty good, but don't you want to come out and give me an estimate? And I'm like, no. I'm in the neighborhood on Tuesdays. I'll drive by when I'm in the neighborhood mowing your neighbor's yard on Tuesday. I'll give you a price then, but I'm going to be in the neighborhood. Why don't I just do it? And then they say, okay, that sounds pretty good. Why don't you do me the next time you're in the neighborhood? And they haven't even committed to a price yet, but I did give them a window, you know? Yeah. So when I get there, I say, okay, well, thanks. I'm going to give you a call. And this is me saying, I'm going to give you a call next time I'm in the neighborhood. We already got a ballpark pricing. I'll call you that day, but I'm going to mow it that day, and I'll give you some firm pricing just to double check with you and make sure that's okay. Okay, that sounds great. Why don't you come by? Hang up. I've already got them committed to this
you
window.
Already sold their service.
I already sold them, and it's no trouble. I don't have to run over there and waste my time giving a free estimate, you know. And
you see, when a guy is in a business for like 10 years and a guy that's in the business for 3, there's a big difference.
Yeah, so maybe that will be your goal. Maybe try to avoid wasting your time and spending the time doing estimates.
Chris, that's one thing that I was actually on my phone. It was my goals for 2022 was first not only save on fuel, but save on time. And that's one thing, that I struggle with is I go out and I'm like, oh, I'll look presentable. I look professional. You can't always sell your service on the way you look. And some people are there to price shop, and if you don't realize it over the phone that they're price shopping, you're going to waste your time.
Yeah, and you want to get a soft commitment from that customer over the phone even before you go out there and do it. You say, I'm going to be in the neighborhood on Tuesdays. I'll drive by. I'm going to do it. Get them to verbally say, okay, you know.
Let me ask you, someone's probably going to think, well, what about Google Earth or Google Maps?
I use that all the time. Yeah, I'll pull up my phone. They're on the phone. I put them on speaker. I pull up the Google Earth, and I kind of zoom in, and I kind of know the neighborhood. And already, they're in my target neighborhood. They're in my target demographic. Okay, there's good. It's in the neighborhood. And I look. I just double check to make sure that's not like a corner lot or something or really big. Yeah. And then I say, then I bring the phone back to my ear, and I say, yeah, the pricing again is still about $50, $60. Yeah. Provided I can get through the backyard with my big mower. Maybe you don't tell them that, but you in the back of your mind, you think there are some variables. If you can't get the mower into the backyard, or you get there and there's a bunch of dog poop everywhere, and the guy knew you were coming on a Tuesday and he didn't clean up,
and he's got his sprinklers going.
Yeah, you might say no. You say, call him up, say, hey, sorry, we can't make your yard. It's out of our, make it something up. Hang on.
out of our service area, but we service your neighbor.
I'll do your neighbor because they pick up after their dog, but I'm not going to do you.
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I had something, I forgot about it. Man, I should have. I didn't want to cut you off, but I wanted to say something about it. Well, technology, like you were saying, Google Earth, you just pick up the phone while they're on the phone. It's like, look at their address. One thing I always struggled with was they'd call me and they'd be like, hey, I live in so-and-so, and they say like Bigelow Gulch or something like that, or some other area. Yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, I think I know where that is. So I'm like, yeah, we service that area.
Oh man!
And then you'd get home to the office,
you're just like, no,
and it's so far away because I mean, Cheney is, or 99224, the zip code.
Yeah, the zip
it's
code's
so
big.
large, it like reaches almost into the Airway Heights area and stuff. This one woman, she told me, she's like, hey, I live in this area. It's like she said the address and she said 99224. I'm like, I service that zip code. She was the farthest client if I were to ever service her area, and I would have to go through all these back roads just to get her to property. But I said, yes, I will. Sorry. Yes, I will service your property. But again, I said it over the phone. I didn't even check. If you spent 10 seconds looking up the address on your phone real quick, it doesn't matter if you're in the middle of mowing lawn. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't answer my phone when I'm mowing. When I'm driving, I have my headset on, all that. But it takes, 10 extra seconds to just research and say, I'm sorry, you're out of our service area.
Yeah, and you need to know that, when you're first getting started, you're setting your goals for the year, you're going to I'm going to focus on this neighborhood. Mm-hmm. If somebody calls me from outside of my service zone, I've networked, I know Phil, and I'll be like, you know what, call Phil. Yeah. And it's a win-win. It makes you look professional. And it's helping out Phil too.
Set up a radius. If you want to work within the 10 miles of surrounding your house, do 10 miles, and don't go past beyond that.
Just say no.
Yeah, just say no. Like we talked about in a few episodes back. Learn to say no.
Yeah, and it's hard when you're first getting started because you do anything. Cleaning gutters. Yeah. And installing a kitchen sink.
Fixing people's engines and mechanic work, and now you're getting into other trades. Yeah. So learning to say no and just saying, you know what, that's out of my service area. Yeah, I think it'll benefit you when you start, setting that as a goal. It'll benefit you throughout your whole year.
Yeah. So let's kind of transition. So we've talked about, setting goals, but what are some of the things that you do behind the scenes that you don't see? Like what do you use for your billing software? What do you use to keep your books balanced? Like that's critical to our business, and it's often unseen. What do you use?
So I use a software for my lawn care business. I use a software called Lawn Pro. I used to use Yardbook, and the people that are starting out, that are listening, Yardbook is a very good software to use, especially when you're starting out. It's free. It's completely free. There's no payment options. You have to do a month. I know there's so many softwares out there that you have to pay monthly or even on an annual basis. Yardbook is free, and it's it keeps track of all your contacts list, all your properties. You can do invoicing, estimating, billing through there. It's all integrated, and it's fast and convenient. It's on your phone. They have an app. You can view it online. You can, obviously have it in your office and all that. And it's all integrated. So I think it's a game changer to have a online software, and not just go and buy a piece of paper or on a book.
Yeah, getting free softwares like that's important. When I first started, I just had a carbon copy. I just write it down and I tear it off and I give it to them, and I would have, I had like stacks of these things when I was first getting started, which works, and you do what you can afford at the time. But when you have new programs like this that may be free, then but then again, you get what you pay for. I think we both use the same one nowadays. I use Lawn Pro. I use Lawn Pro.
A buddy of mine,
a paid service.
Yeah, a buddy of mine said last year they stopped. So Lawn Pro used to be a one-time payment. Did you get on a you pay once and that's it? Or
I paid I think it was $250 for the year.
For the year? Yeah. Do you have to renew it?
Well, this time I suppose I'll have to renew it. Yeah.
Oh, so when I bought it, it was a lifetime membership.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh. So I got really lucky. It was $300.
Oh, okay.
For a lifetime, and I think they got rid of it. Now they're doing a subscription based.
Okay.
So because my buddy was like, "Hey, I looked at Lawn Pro and it's not free." And I'm like, what? No. So this was a long time ago. Yeah. And so, but Yardbook is still free. Yardbook is still free. There's no paid membership or anything like that.
So you got your Yardbook for your invoicing. Now, what do you do to track your money and through your bank account on the other end?
That I well, first of all, Lawn Pro does have like P&Ls, keeps track of your profit and loss, so everything's integrated with that. But as far as like keeping track of your receipts and all that, I don't have any program like QuickBooks. I wanted to use QuickBooks, but with Lawn Pro, with as much as Lawn Pro does, it's substantial enough for me to continue my operations.
For the most part, I don't really keep my receipts, unless I have like a big purchase or it's going to be a tax write-off in some way. When I go to the hardware store and I buy something, when I go at the end of the month and reconcile my accounts, I use QuickBooks, and I say every time I went to Ace Hardware, that transaction goes into the supply bucket. And anytime I went to the gas station, that goes into the fuel bucket. So when I pull my P&L at the end of the month, I can see, well, I spent this much in supplies, or I spent this much on fuel, and that goes a long way in helping me forecast the next month or the next year, for example.
I like QuickBooks because everything's automated. You can connect your bank account, so once you make a purchase on your business checking or debit card, that will upload directly to QuickBooks. And it will keep track of everything that you spent your money on, categorized.
Automatically. You can set rules, so every time you go get gas, it just automatically goes into the fuel bucket.
Yeah. Now you can integrate that with Lawn Pro, but I do everything manually. I still am a manual guy.
Yeah, I do. I have two. I use the Lawn Pro for my billing software because I really like where you can click one button on the app and it'll send a paper copy to the little old ladies and with a return stamped envelope, back to you. I love that. I mean, it costs, stamp is what, 50 cents, but I think the service is like $1 or $1.25 or something like that. I think that's great.
Oh yeah.
And so there's a handful of my clients.
They'll do it all for you.
Yeah, they'll do it all for you. And it looks really professional. That's one of my favorite things. But yeah, on the back end, I'll use QuickBooks and it'll automatically, bucket certain money and stuff like that. Yeah. So those are really the two big things I use: is Lawn Pro for my billing software and QuickBooks for my reconciling my accounts. And then I use a free service, Google Routes, to help me plan out these routes.
Yeah, that's one thing that I got to get on is the Google Routes. So I need to try it out because I've always in my mind drew a line kind of on a map and said, well, if I go this way and hit this house and that house, it's going to be the most efficient. Yeah. So I'm not like a back and forth kind of guy.
No.
I always go in almost a straight line, and then you got to drive home. That's it.
Yeah. You have to get these things, especially again as you get more and more clients. You're going to have to put it into a book like this. You can't fly by the seat of your pants.
Which I want you to get out of this books and do everything on the phone. Remember when I showed you Lawn Pro?
Yeah. They have it all. They do have it on a phone. I do this specifically because I have employees, and I don't know, the integration of training employees and stuff is, I found it easier for them just to pick up the thing with a white, we use dry erase, and you see how they mark it when they do it, and they just they skip it and they mark it. So at the end of the month, I'll just pull up this book and I'll be like, okay, there's so many dots or services on so-and-so, and then that's how I do it. Mostly just because it's a little easier.
Yeah, with employees, I mean, you're not going to be spending money on tablets or iPads for them to and charge them.
And it can be a little messy, especially, I don't know, I won't show you, but in the margins as you pick up a new client, there's somebody's scribbled in here, and then you got them wedged in here between somebody else. So it can get messy, but I try to update these lists every month. I just take the paper out and slide it in the new one.
There was one more thing. So April, we usually start mowing season April. Mine is first full week of April, and then I'm off and running. Do you have, do all of your clients right away accept the estimate, or do you have some that maybe accept and maybe wait until March or May to do service, or are you like, hey, if you don't accept, I'm not.
I'm not really quite that hard. It's like, I assume the customer is going to be with me year over year. Just like, your cable bill or your phone bill. The phone company is assuming you're going to keep the phone the next month. And then
they renew your contract
if you don't cancel. They renew your contract if you don't cancel. So I take that same method. Unless there's going to be some sort of big change in pricing or something, I call some of my favorites and say, hey, we're getting started, and maybe some people call me, hey, are you starting again? Yeah. But for the most part, no. I've been doing it long enough, and I've had clientele long enough. I just start up again. And I'm kind of easy on them. I mean, maybe I'm not taking my own advice, but the first couple of cuts I won't do every season, because as things start ramping up, I might do 2, maybe 3 in April, and I'll be fair with them. But by May, it's like in stone.
Yeah.
I mean, we're like every single week, never going to miss you.
Yeah,
and
no bi-weeklies.
No bi-weeklies. But again, like in the middle of the summer, in the dog days of summer, I might skip it.
Yeah.
And I'll leave that to the decision to the technician at the time. If he drives by and doesn't need it, he'll just make a note of it on the piece of paper, on the book here, and skip it. But I don't like doing that because that's just leaving money on the table.
It is. And I actually have a set in stone policy for my lawn care business, which says, look, I'm not there. If I'm driving to your home, you're expected to get your grass cut.
Yeah.
So if your grass doesn't need to be cut, I give the responsibility to the owner to call me ahead of time and saying, hey, I don't need your service.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
If you're technically, I mean, you can say you're just wasting money on fuel and driving and all that mileage, and you're wasting your time, especially driving there. It's not much, but it's still a little bit, and it adds up.
Yeah.
Every time you show up and you're like, oh, it doesn't need a cut. In the back of your mind, you have that thought of, well, they should have contacted me and let me know. You would have saved time there. So I have it set in stone. Like, if I show up, I'm gonna cut.
Yeah, that's good advice. I recently took on a commercial contract, and last summer, and here in Spokane, we had this weird like save water kind of trend that went through town.
Yeah.
It was like they had their slogan was to save blue. What was it? Save blue or like go yellow. Oh, that's what it was. Go yellow for your grass to save big blue like the earth. That was stupid, but whatever. And so they had this push, and I had this commercial client, and it was big. It was kind of a big deal, and he stopped watering. Completely stopped. I mean, just stopped. And the grass was dead. I mean, it wasn't just dormant. I mean, this was dead. Did
he notify you?
No, he didn't notify me at all. And I was going there and I was mowing every week. And then finally I was just like, this is nuts. Like I am just like driving over the grass.
Are you leaving like heat?
Tire
lines?
Stripes through the line. It was bad. And I called him. I'm like, hey, listen, man, we had an agreement. I'm going to be there every week.
Right.
I don't care. I purchased lawn equipment. I have staff. I have scheduled you. I'm going to charge you. And I wasn't quite so mean as that, as I said, well, maybe if I'm not mowing the lawn, I can still keep busy and maybe trim the bushes or trim the trees or something like that. So it did work out, but I did have to have that uncomfortable conversation with the guy. And I was like, man, I'm charging you. I'm here every week and I'm going to charge you.
I think business owners or even residential clients need to notify their lawn care companies.
Yeah.
So that way, you guys are all on the same page.
Yeah.
So there won't have to be any surprises.
Yeah.
Like I one time was, mowing a backyard and front and backyard. And then they, for some reason, wanted to remove all the grass from the back and do like a zero-scape with landscaping and patio and all that. And I'm like, so I got cut in half. My workload got cut in half, and it was actually beneficial because work less. But I wasn't never notified. I show up in the backyard, and there's like big, tractors and all that messing up the yard. I'm like, okay, there's no communication.
So did you reduce your rate?
No.
Good.
Kept it. It was a minimum cut. It was a minimum of like $40 back then. So I kept it at 40, and it decreased my workload by half. But still, I wanted that communication just to make sure that I was on the same page. We were on the same page of the price is not going to change and all. And there was no problems. But still, it's always good to have that talk.
Sure.
Ahead of time. So.
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of starting to beat a dead horse here. we share some of the stories with you, talking about our goals for the next year, and I guess the biggest goal that we talked about was just pricing and trying to keep consistent. Do we want to talk about any other kind of goals, or what, or should we just?
I think one goal for everybody, and again, our target audience for YouTube is people that are just starting out. You're going to take on weekly, you're going to take on bi-weekly, you might even take some once a month type of clients that barely have any grass growing. You'll take on anything that you want, but in the future time, after your second year, you want to eliminate all of the bi-weeklies and all of the once a month type of clients. You want to have consistency. You want to be at their property every single week. It doesn't matter. Don't do like 10 days, 12 days. You'll confuse yourself. You want to be consistent every single, Monday, every single Tuesday. You're out on their property at this specific time. Be organized. and that will benefit your business.
Yeah, I think that's critical. When you're first getting started, you just do anything, oh yeah, once a month or once every 2 weeks. But I think even if you drew that line in the sand now when you're first getting started, take our advice. Just do it. Just do the weekly. Don't try to have your little old lady you're helping out, for every couple weeks, or your once a monthers or whatever. Again, know your target audience and stick to it, because again, you don't want to be known as a cheap guy in town and still get phone calls 10 years later and think that you mow lawn for $25 when that you just don't want to do it, and the business will come. And in fact, I think you'll run into a problem with just how to do all the business, I mean, what are you going to do this year as you continue to grow? I mean, are you going to get employees? Are you going to keep it small? Are you going to trim the business and keep it tight?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Oh yeah. Every year you find those clients. Like I have already in particular in my mind 5 clients that I want to remove. Nothing wrong with them. Great clients. Well, most of them.
What's wrong with that? Wait a minute.
Great clients for the majority. The only thing is they're so far away. Oh. And they're like 15 minutes one way and 15 minutes back type of clients. They're not like 3 minute, each, or like a minute away, or like door to door. They're 15-minute drive to their own property and then 15 minutes back. I want to eliminate those. That'll save a lot of time. Nothing wrong with some of those clients. They always pay. They have their credit cards on file. But I'm sorry, you're going to be out of my service area because that's what we're trying to remove. We're trying to densen the routes.
Yeah, it's not like personal.
Nothing personal. No. Yeah. Majority.
Yeah, majority. Sometimes they are personal.
The dusty ones getting removed. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I'm not mowing. I'm not going to... first of all, ruin my own health by breathing in all the dust. And yes, I can wear a mask and all that. But second of all, after you finish mowing, you're completely covered in dust. Yeah. You're tracing it in your truck. Your mower's filters are dirty. And your mower's dirty, your equipment's dirty, and you have to go and mow another lawn after that with all your dirty equipment, blow yourself off. Yeah. It's just time consuming. And so even if you raise the prices, you're still going to feel the same. It's still going to be dusty even if you raise the price.
So I think that's important when you're first getting started and when you're small. I think you can't afford to just say, hey, I'm cutting you, I'm keeping it tight. And in fact, I'm going to raise the rates on all of my core people, and then maybe squeezing more money out of them. Maybe you get licensed to do fertilizer, and you can get more money out of them. Again, when you're small, you can afford to do this. You can keep it tight, you can be picky, you can raise your rates, and you can really make a lot of money. There is a big hump to get over if you start hiring employees. And that might be a whole nother video of how to hire employees, because that getting over that hump to actually make a lot of money is not easy. And that's another subject, but I think you hit something. Just keep it tight.
I just, so like I'm solo. I don't have any employees. I do all the work myself. I maxed out at 60 lawns a week last year. So in 2021, it was 60. I peaked at 60, and then it slowly dropped depending, if people were moving, and all that. So I ended with like around 54, 55. And so this year, yes, I was working tough hours last year by myself. It was solo. If you're ever in that position, maybe you're mowing 20 lawns and it seems hard. Maybe you're mowing 40. Try 60 solo. It's tough. And you've ran some solo routes before, and you got more clients than I do.
Yeah, it's
and
tough.
Bigger properties.
Yeah.
It gets tough.
Yeah.
And trying to manage 60 by your own, yes, it puts a lot of stress on your shoulders. Yes, you do make a lot of money, and majority of it you keep as the business or pay yourself more. But still, money doesn't bring happiness.
Yeah.
And sometimes, yes, you got to trim the fat. So my goals is, go maybe to 45, maybe 50, get rid of that extra 10, but raise prices.
Or sell them the upsells of fertilizer. Or the
upsell.
Roundup treatments or fertilizer and whatever in the beds,
Yeah, exactly. You have your, let's just say 10, 20, 30 clients that you service. Why not send them an email saying, hey, I noticed that your trees need to be trimmed. Hey, I noticed that your house needs to be pressure washed, if you get into the pressure washing business, that is. Or your driveway needs to be pressure washed. Hey, your shrubs need to be trimmed. There's so many things that you can do on one single, and that's just one property. One single property. There's so many things you can do, extra work, that can fill in for those customers that you lost.
Yeah.
So, and you can, stay as busy as you have been in the past, just with less clients.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, you know, we're kind of all over the place here. We tried to talk about goals for our 2022.
This is good stuff.
Yeah, we kind of went off on a little rabbit trail. But you know what? I think it's all good. And again, if you're getting anything out of this video, what are we going to? We want to like it?
Man, like, share it, comment, share it on Facebook, whatever. Share it to someone that will find benefit. And again, guys, if you're just starting out, maybe you're just listening to this for your entertainment and you're not even in the lawn care industry. Please still hit the like button. Comment down below your favorite part. Let us know what you've learned from it. And again, that will really benefit this video and the channel.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you for watching. We want you guys to be successful out there. Don't be stupid and make the mistakes that we've made in the past. Learn from our mistakes, and we want you to be successful. So
yeah, and the thing is, we learn every day. Me and you still learning things every day, and that's just the learning curve of this in this industry. So.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Take care. Boom. Another one.
That was long, man.
Turn around and it's dead screen.
Oh, right. That was almost an hour.